Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joining you here on a beautiful Tuesday morning, the morning of the Dodgers and Giants. It's going to be an exciting series tonight as the Dodgers just finished off a series with the Colorado Rockies, finishing up that fourth game and getting a split there. I know the two games in the middle, Dodgers fans don't expect to lose to Colorado, but hey, this is baseball, and that's just kind of how things go, and that's just how baseball goes as the season goes on. But hey, we're going to dive into a lot of the reasons why the Dodgers right now 16-6 overall in first place, one game ahead of the Padres. The Padres are playing good baseball, 7-3 in the last 10. Not a whole lot to complain about if you're a Dodgers fan right now. Not at all. And we're going to get into a lot of the good stuff. We're going to get into maybe some of the more controversial stuff. We're going to get into Down the Farm. What we're going to do on the Down the Farm today, because I have so much to catch up with. I haven't been on in a week. Had family issues last week that had to take care of, and I think if you follow Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, you're pretty familiar with if I have family issues that I have to deal with, everything else gets dropped. Family comes first. So that's where I was at last week. And so making sure family was taken care of and getting all that done. We're back. We're ready to go. We're going to get back on our normal 9 o'clock Pacific time each and every week. Austin was busy, so he couldn't do his show last night. Also, I keep promising this, but we're going to start back our Sunday night shows with Coach Barikoff. This is my last week umpiring. So like right now I have my full-time job. Then after that, I have to go umpire, and I get home about 11 o'clock at night. Then I have to rip all the videos. I have to put my show notes together. I have to watch the big Dodgers game, that kind of deal. So it's pretty crazy right now. Hanging with me for about another, this week might be a little bit crazy, but then we'll get pretty creative as we move forward from there. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Probably so cup half full, cup half empty. Obviously, you go get Edwin Diaz to have the best closer in the game. He had not been that. The Dodgers have blown 4 saves so far this year. They have 10 save opportunities, have only converted 6 of them. So that's number one, is that Edwin Diaz has not been the exact Edwin Diaz you thought you were going to get. That's number one, although the bullpen has not been terrible. We'll get into the bullpen numbers here in just a minute. That's number one. Number two, obviously out for 3 months. So my brain works into the process aspect of things. And when I say process, what I mean by that is I think although, hey, yeah, you're 16-6, 7-3, the Padres are nipping at your heels. We talk about this all the time. I think that's a very good thing for the Dodgers. And by the way, hey, I have put the link to the chat here, to the show, if you want to hop in. Give me about 20, 30 minutes here to get things sorted. I got some thoughts I want to get out, and we'll take on guests here in a minute. So Coach Holt and I talk about all the time, I like it when the Padres are good. Hey, 9-13 for the Giants that you're going to see tonight. That hasn't been good, but they do have Landon Roop going. They are at Oracle Park. It's a different ball game there. So tonight will be a very difficult challenge. The Giants, hey, you can't have your back against the wall in April. I'm not trying to make it that dramatic, but this is a pretty big series for them early on. One, just to kind of make a statement that they can compete with the Dodgers this year. And two, yes, they are 9-13. I think they're 3 or 4 games back. I just looked just a minute ago. I can't remember the exact number. The Giants are back. You don't want to go back 6 to 7 to 8 games and be just chasing that uphill battle the entire season. So the Giants could make a lot of hay this series with the Dodgers if they play well. So this is a big series for them. I don't think it's as big of a series for the Dodgers. So I say that to say the Edwin Diaz thing, overall, there's nothing really good you can make about that. But I will say that's going to give, now this is all pretensed on, can Edwin Diaz actually make it back here in 2 or 3 months and then be the Edwin Diaz we want him to be. So the loss is tough, but if you can kind of continue to do what you're doing and specifically continue to get the starting pitching you've been getting, that only makes you a deeper team. Like last year, you never see Will Klein, you never see Edgardo Henriquez. You probably don't see Justin Robleski this year if you don't have guys that like a Blake Snell that provides opportunities. So while obviously losing what has been the best closer in the game, certainly the best closer on the free agency market last year by a long stretch, there's nothing good about that. The way that you have to view that is the next Justin Robleski. Make that be a River Ryan or, whoever that may be. Jake Eater got called up. I saw that. I've mentioned him a couple different times. I thought he was that up and out type of guy. So a guy that maybe wouldn't have had an opportunity is going to have to step up and play a role like a Justin Robleski has done this year, like a Ben Kasperius has gotten, like a Kyle Hurt is getting an opportunity now. So who's to say Kyle Hurt couldn't just be lights out and be fairly similar to what Edwin Diaz could have been as far as what we expected. We know Kyle Hurt's stuff is electric. Who's to say River Ryan can't now that gives him a better opportunity maybe moving forward. So far he has 7 innings on the year. It hasn't been perfect for him to this point, but he's just getting started. So yes, it's not a great deal in terms of you lose a great closer, you lose a guy that was going to be an anchor to your bullpen, a bullpen that has not been great to this point, but it does give opportunity to these young guys. And then whenever you do get Edwin Diaz back, and as long as he's healthy and as long as he is what we hope he's supposed to be, now you have him and the depth that you created while he was out. So this could end up being a win-win situation for the Dodgers if they keep winning 16 to 22 games, 70% of their 10-game clips like they've done, and stay in first place. It's all good at that point because you've had your cake and you've eaten it too. You've gotten your best player back, and then also you've developed some guys that can be depth pieces as well. And again, I think a lot of that goes back to, and what a great crowd we have logging in, can your starting pitching continue to be what it has been? You're going to add Blake Snell, right? But how about this for the starting pitching for the Dodgers this year, okay? This is even with Roki Sasaki that we'll get into here in a minute, that hasn't been great and hasn't provided a whole lot of length, just about 4 innings an outing is what he's averaging right now. Even in the face of Roki Sasaki, the starting pitching for the Dodgers, 4th in all of Major League Baseball in ERA, a 3.06 ERA for the Dodgers starting pitching. They've pitched 126.1 innings, okay? Just 16th in strikeouts. So what I really like about what the starters have done, typically what we've seen with the Dodgers in the past is high strikeout rates, but with high strikeout rates, you also have high pitch totals, and with high pitch totals, it means you have fewer innings that you've eaten up. So this year has been like a complete flip for the Dodgers starters to this point. Low strikeouts, matter of fact, only 110 strikeouts on the year for the starters. That's just best for 16th in Major League Baseball, but they're second in all of baseball in walks and hits per inning, second in whip at 104. I mean, a 104 whip, just a little bit above 1 on walks and hits per innings is just absolutely ridiculously fantastic, and they're second in average against at 202. So they've gone old school, call it new school, which was all the high velocity, strike people out, high pitch count. Called old school to where you miss barrels instead of miss bats. You get quick outs. You use movement and location and changing speeds to fool hitters and stay off of barrels. Call that old school. I call it the right school. So instead of striking everybody out with high pitch totals, the Dodgers starters have been more efficient. They've tried to miss barrels instead of trying to miss bats. And because of that, a bullpen that has been, certainly in terms of injury, and then sometimes what the bullpen's done, they've given up too many home runs. They've given up they're tied, I believe, for the third most home runs of any bullpen in the game. They've just simply given up too many home runs. That's what they have done. I just lost the link, so I will put the link back in here in just a minute. But let me get through some of my notes that I have. So a bullpen that has been a little bit, in terms of injury, definitely shaky, and then even shaky in terms of the performance aspect of things. It's been huge that the starting pitchers have been efficient and they have eaten up a whole lot of innings. So as a matter of fact, let me go back to the relief pitching They're last in all of Major League Baseball. Our bullpen is. Check this out. With the loss of Edwin Diaz, whatever, this bullpen for the Dodgers has had to cover the fewest amount of innings. They have the fewest amount of innings pitched of any relief staff in all of baseball. That's a huge compliment to the missing barrels versus missing bats and the efficiency of this starting rotation. And that's kind of hidden in the fact that the bullpen so far has just the 16th best ERA in baseball in terms of all bullpens at 4.06. They're third best in giving up hits at 58 hits and 68.2 innings, and have given up the sixth fewest walks, but they haven't struck out enough, guys. Same with the starters, just 22 strikeouts and tied for third most home runs given up with 5. So kind of one of those deals. There hasn't been a lot of swing and miss with the bullpen, but it's been covered up because the starting pitchers have been efficient and the bullpen hasn't had to cover as many innings as any other team in Major League Baseball. Matter of fact, they've actually blown 6 of their 10 save opportunities. So one of the two things has to happen. Your bullpen has to get more explosive and better, for one, or the starting rotation has to continue to eat the amount of innings they're eating and continue to ask the bullpen to cover the fewest amount of innings possible, something of which they have done. And that starts with the guys on the fringe. Hey, we know the Tyler Glasnows are going to be good as long as he's healthy, right? The Shohei Ohtani, he's going to be good, that kind of thing. So let's talk about the guys on the fringe. Justin Robleski, Roki Sasaki, Emmett Sheehan, right? Let's start with Emmett Sheehan, and let's dive into his last start. And I think it's I know he gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, whatever, okay? I know he had 2 walks. I still think, in a lot of ways, if you go behind the curtains, the last start for Emmett Sheehan was a blueprint. It was a map for how he can be borderline elite. And again, I know the results weren't elite, but check out this: 77 pitches, 48 strikes. Fastball was in the zone about 55% of the time. He needs to increase that by 7 or 8%. He needs to be above 60% with his fastball in zone. But his first pitch strikes, here's what I really liked about Emmett Sheehan. 58% first strikes with fastball. So that tells me he's trusting his stuff. Hey, let me throw my stuff in there. Let me get to strike 1, and then let me race to strike 2. Here's what I really like about it. Here's where I think the blueprint aspect of Emmett Sheehan's performance comes in. He only threw a slider 3 times as a first pitch, okay? But of the 3 times he threw a slider for a first pitch, meaning the count is 0-0 on the hitter, he landed 2 of them for first pitch strikes, okay? He threw his curveball 5 times as a first pitch and landed 4 of them. So 8 times total, he threw either a slider or a curveball for a first pitch, and he landed 6 of them. So Emmett Sheehan stole 6 strikes out of the 8 that he threw between his slider and his curveball, pitching backwards. And whenever you add in throwing strikes, I think he needs to get up around a 70% clip with his fastball. If he can raise that fastball to a 70% clip, 6 out of 8, somewhere in there, 70 to 80% with it, which is what he did with his slider and curveball. Now you're talking a 70% first strike thrower with 3 different pitches he can throw that first pitch strike with, and they're all pretty much plus pitches. I mean, that ride run 98 model fastball plus, slider plus, curveball good pitch. If you can land 3 different pitches at a 70% clip with as good as his stuff is, like he's capable, and all he has to do now to get that is to keep his curveball and slider at the same rate first pitch, and then increase his fastball, which he's totally capable of in terms of throwing strikes with it at first pitch rates. Bingo, we're right there. And at that point, if he's 70% strikes with 3 different pitches, his stuff is good enough. He has the chance to be elite at that point. He just does. So I think there's a lot of, if you look at what this is as close, in my opinion, that he's been to saying, hey, the execution is going to allow him to become elite. And think about if he becomes elite at his level, when you add him to Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow, eventually Blake Snell, what Justin Wroblewski's doing, this pitching staff really takes on, as good as it's been, which has been honestly, maybe probably the best pitching staff, fourth in ERA of all of baseball, 306. 16th in strikeout, but second in whip, second in average against. It's been a tremendous starting pitching rotation, and that's without Blake Snell. Justin Wroblewski's been a huge part of that. Obviously, 188 ERA, whip of just 0.88. How about that for Justin Wroblewski? And Justin Wroblewski's kind of been the roadmap for how the entire staff has been, both at the starting level and relief level. It's that the swing and miss is way down, but the efficiency is up. So Wroblewski's only striking out a little over 3 hitters per 9 innings, which is way down for him. Matter of fact, that's almost 7 less per 9 innings in strikeouts than he averaged last year. But his walks, the trade-off is if you're not going to strike as many guys out, you better throw a lot more strikes. You better throw strike one, which allows you to mix from there. Walks per 9 for Justin Wroblewski is just 1.88, which means he's getting ahead in the count, okay? Which means that hitters are having to hit pitchers' pitches. So when you say, hey, his batting average again and with balls in play is just 205, that can't maintain. I would argue against that, because if you are throwing strike one with multiple pitches and you are as efficient as a strike thrower as Justin Wroblewski has been for the most part, then you're throwing pitchers' pitches. Hitters are having to hit pitchers' pitches, and that's why when they do put the ball in play, their batting average is so low. And then another thing, this one might be a little less sustainable. 70% of the runners that are on base, he strands. So he's at a 76% left on base rate. That's probably not going to sustain, but I don't think it will dip dramatically, because I've said this, one thing I've said about Justin Wroblewski throughout the years is that he is an absolute dog. And so a lot of times just having a big moment or being a big part of the game or having a guy on base, that brings up his adrenaline level. And when he brings up his adrenaline level, as long as he doesn't speed up like he did a couple of starts ago, we mentioned that on a couple of shows ago, as long as he doesn't speed up, he becomes better. So that 70% clip of leaving runners on base does not surprise me whatsoever. The efficiency of the strike throwing has put him in pitchers' counts. That's why the batting average at balls in play is so low, and he's not giving up free baseball, which means just like Emmett Sheehan, you're seeing these two guys grow up right in front of our eyes. And when I say that, the biggest reason why I say that is they are trusting their stuff to throw it in the zone and saying, here it is, it's good enough, I'm going to be able to get outs with this. You're seeing that squarely in front of your eyes grow up with Emmett Sheehan and Justin Wroblewski, okay? Which is why the predicted numbers for Wroblewski don't necessarily align with his results, but which is why I'm not worried about it at all, because he's simplified, and we talk about this all the time. Whenever you're making adjustments or whatever it may be, simplifying is always the best way to go. Simplifying is, like in football, typically speaking, running fewer plays and getting better at the plays that you run is a better option than adding plays to your playbook and just not being any good at running any of your plays, right? So what Justin Wroblewski has done is he's become fastball slider dominant. His fastball is good enough. His slider is good enough, especially, we say he's fastball slider, only 2-pitch dominant, but he changes the shape of that slider enough to make it a 3, sometimes maybe a 4-pitch mix. So there's enough in there, but it's simplified enough to where the execution piece to Justin Wroblewski, which has always been the question, and not just the execution piece, but the execution piece to the slider. We've always known the fastball was going to play. The execution piece, the slider has always been, hey, how fast will this happen? And once it does, we're going to see the Justin Wroblewski we've seen this year, which is the 188 ERA, a whip of 0.88, and he has been just absolutely dominant. And like we said, he's taken the games 6 and 7 of the World Series last year and the experience from that, and he springboarded it into having a great year this year. Yeah, looking forward to facing Tony Vitello. Yeah, as you know, Al, I'm not a fan whatsoever. I hope someday I get to be in a press conference with him and get to ask him a couple questions. That'll be kind of fun. So what we're seeing with Emmett Sheehan and Justin Wrobleski is exactly what we need to see with Roki Sasaki. Hey, dude, your stuff's good enough. Throw it in there. Let's challenge hitters. Let's get to strike one. Let's make it a race to strike two. Let's just throw the ball in there, and let's see what happens. ERA of 6.11, 6.11 walks per nine for Roki Sasaki. 18% home run for fly ball rate, which, to kind of give you a baseline, 14% around there is about league average, so he's giving up 4 to 5% more home runs per fly balls, which means he's getting behind the count, elevating fastballs, and those elevated fastballs are leaving the yard at a more than normal rate in terms of the amount of fly balls he gives up, home runs he gives up per fly balls. And not only is the ERA bad, not only is the home run total per fly ball bad, not only are the walks bad, that has all led to just, a little over 4 innings per start, which, again, the other starters have been fantastic, and the Dodgers offense has been ridiculously good. So like we've said, they have the margin for error for that. But still, you have to address this issue. So what is the fix for this? Do you send him to the bullpen? Do you make him a bullpen piece because we saw last year how good he was in the bullpen? Here would be my response to that. Ben Kasparius. We saw, now it was in reverse last year, but we saw Ben Kasparius, when you flop roles back and forth between starter, reliever. Hey, it sounds great on paper. It's a lot harder than you think, okay? So, yeah, maybe would he be a successful bullpen piece? Maybe, but still not with the way he's executing right now. It wouldn't matter what role he's pitching in. The key is just improve your execution overall. So I just think, and here's another deal. I think once you take that dive into saying, hey, let's make him a bullpen piece, that's something you got to ride with. That's not something you say, let's make him a bullpen piece. Let's see how he does. And then maybe in a month, we'll try him as a starter again. I don't see that as a positive solution. So I think you have 3 choices with Roki Sasaki, okay? I think choice number 1 is you do exactly what you did to start the season, and you bet on your offense, and you say, hey, our offense is good enough. The rest of our starters have covered enough innings, okay, as I've gone over in this show. And then we have enough long reliever type bullpen guys to where one start out of a rotation of 5 and eventually a six-man rotation. One start going 4 innings, we're okay with that. Gives up the 4 or 5 runs, we cover it, we win half of his games, we're good. Roki Sasaki continues to develop and try to get better as a starter at the major league level. That was the plan to start the season. That you can continue that plan. That's number 1, okay? Option number 2, you can say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. We tried it. We've honored some commitments we've made to Roki Sasaki. We've seen it with our own eyes. Let's move the man to the bullpen. We could use help in the bullpen. Let's make him a bullpen piece, and let's do it. But I would just say this. Again, I don't think that's a very viable option. It wouldn't be my option at all. And the reason is, I just think once you start flipping roles around, I think you stunt all sorts of development. And next thing you know, he's liable to be hurt. He's liable to be over you, or whatever it may be. So I would not be in favor of making him a bullpen piece at this point, unless you make the decision he is a bullpen piece. End of discussion. I would not be in favor of let's make him a bullpen piece. Let's see if we can fix the execution, only to bring him back as a starter later. I would not be in favor of that plan just because I think it's too complicated. Too complicated. So that's option number 2, make him a bullpen piece. And then again, maybe if you wanted to try to have your cake and eat it too, maybe do it in a way to where you're improving execution to where you can make him a starter again. Or just say, hey, you're a bullpen piece, end of discussion. We have enough starters. Robo's been good. We're seeing Robo and Sheehan grow up right in front of our eyes. We got River Ryan coming. So, hey, you're a bullpen guy, end of discussion. That could happen too. I think the option, if my two options would be either keep him with Los Angeles as a starter, okay? Tell him, hey, we need to get as close to 5 innings as we can get. I don't care how many runs you give up. Let's just concentrate on improving execution. Let's concentrate on two things here, Roki. Let's concentrate on improving execution, okay, in terms of getting the ball in the zone and the amount of length that we are going in games. Let's do those two things. Beyond that, I don't care about the results in terms of how many runs you give up. The only results I care about are how many innings do you go. Everything else is process-oriented, and the process for him is the execution improving? I would be in favor of either doing that or just straight up sending him down to Oklahoma City and continuing him as a starter and letting him improve his execution. All those process pieces that I just talked about right there, accomplish those process pieces at the Oklahoma City level. That's your next option. I think you leave him as a starter. It's too complicated, because I don't want to make the full-time commitment that he's a bullpen piece, and I don't want to flip him back and forth. So I think you need to leave him as a starter, and I think that either needs to be in L.A. with a process focus beyond the results of the amount of innings he's giving you, or in Oklahoma City where it's all process focused in terms of we're going to allow the execution getting better to then allow you to go more innings, which would create a situation which would get you to go more innings. So those are my thoughts on Roki Sasaki. That's where I would be at with that, because it's interesting. Again, last in all of Major League Baseball in innings pitched, so it's not totally urgent with the bullpen right now, but the bullpen's kind of a dichotomy because while they haven't had to pitch as many innings, they are the 16th best bullpen in Major, which means they're just very average in the middle of Major League Baseball in ERA at 4.06. But that's despite giving up the third fewest hits and having given up the sixth fewest walks. So again, it's been the home runs. Just 22nd in strikeouts and tied for third most home runs with 5. And then they've only covered 6 of their 10 save opportunities. So I think that's where we're at with Roki Sasaki. That's where I'm at with Roki Sasaki. And like Browser Cal saying here, Roki the bullpen for long relief for high leverage. The only way I disagree, the only reason I do disagree, my only caveat with that, I don't have necessarily a problem with that. My caveat to it is make it permanent. Don't flip them back and forth. That's all I'm asking. Hey, we're going to long relief bullpen you. Then we're going to move you back to a starting run. We're going to go back. Don't go back and forth. Don't do the Ben Kasparius plan, please. That's all I ask there. In terms of the offense, elite. Okay. And again, I'm going to put the show notes here. I'm going to put the link back in here in just a minute. We have Good Down the Farm. We're going to cover some Oklahoma City action. We're going to cover Josue de Paula. We're going to cover Zaire Hope. And we're going to have a heck of a good time. So how elite has this offense been? How about the Dodgers lead the major leagues in runs scored at 42? They lead the major leagues in RBIs with 128. They lead the major leagues, all major leagues, not the National League, the major leagues in batting average at 293. They lead the major leagues in on-base percentage at 366, slugging percentage at 507, and OPS at 873. Again, lead all of Major League Baseball in runs, RBIs, batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS, which is on-base plus slugging. And that's with Shohei Ohtani not really heating up to what Shohei Ohtani could be. That's with Mookie Betts being out. Now, Freddie Freeman, he has absolutely been on fire as of late. So we have seen the Freddie Freeman that we expect. He has his average hovering right around 300. I think it's a tick or two below 300 right now. but definitely on paternity leave, no doubt. Thank goodness, because he gets to go away and spend time with his family. And then that allowed Ryan Ward to come up. So congratulations to Ryan Ward. But how about Freddie Freeman? 385 in his last 7 games, OPS over 1,000. So you knew Freddie Freeman would heat up. But the guy I want to talk about, been talking about all offseason, been talking about all spring training, all through the beginning of this season, and that is Hyesung Kim. Hyesung Kim, it's been great to see him get everyday touches, no doubt about it, because as I've said, I've been on the bandwagon, I should say, all offseason, all spring training, the beginning of this season. Hyesung Kim needs to be an everyday starter, an everyday player. So not only is he good, but he brings something different that nobody else can bring. So I need to actually see if I am still on the air. Let me get back into the chat here, and let me do this right here. Let me see if we are still going. Okay, yes, we are. I for some reason, I lost that. Okay, so Hyesung Kim, this is why he needs to be an everyday player. Not only is he good, he's different. He does things that other people on this roster can't do, right? So not only is he good, he brings different dynamics to this offense that the Dodgers need. And as an everyday player, here's what we're talking about. We saw this with Dalton Rushing. Now, Dalton Rushing's not an everyday player, but he has the same role. He knew what his role was going to be. He has consistency in the inconsistency of it. So he knew what to deal with. He knows how to prepare. And because of that, we're seeing the real Dalton Rushing, right? So Hyesung Kim getting everyday playing time, huge. It's led him to hitting .308 this month with everyday touches, right? And check this out. He scored 5 runs. This is what Hyesung Kim does. He scores runs, okay? He needs to get on base, score runs, needs to put the ball in play, get on base, score runs. Hyesung Kim has scored 5 runs this month while he's at everyday playing time in 26 plate appearances. And if you equated that to the typical 500 at-bats over a season, that's averaging that would be close to 100 runs scored over those 500 at-bats. That would be right borderline top 10 in runs scored. That's your 9-hole or 8-hole or 7-hole. If you have a 7, 8, or 9-hole, that is top 10 in runs scored, and then it's probably going to be top 10 in stolen bases or whatever it may be. That's an insanely awesome weapon, and then on top of that, his defense is probably better than his offense. So I'm going to say it again, 308 this month since he's had basically everyday touches in some way, shape, or form. He's on pace, if you equated it to over a 500 at-bat season, to have 100 runs scored, which would be a top 10 clip. And to have a top 10 run scorer at the bottom of your lineup is huge. I mean, that just, again, that takes your, I think as good as Shohei Ohtani and all these guys are, Freddie Freeman, what's taken this offense to the next level is Dalton Rushing, is Andy Pius, is that you have length in this lineup, and to have a guy that can score runs like that at the bottom of your lineup at that type of clip is absolutely huge. And then Kyle Tucker, it kind of looks like, so here's what Kyle Tucker's doing, okay? This is what Conforto didn't do. And this is a totally different scenario. He's just kind of surviving until he can hit that hot patch. Similar to kind of what we saw the Dodgers offense do early in the season, just kind of survived along until they got hot. And then once they got hot, they became the offense we all wanted them to be, right? So that's kind of what Kyle Tucker's doing right now. He has a couple of home runs, a 3-hit game. He has, hits in 5 games in a row. He has hits in 10 of his last 12. It's just kind of been, a couple of home runs have been loud, but it's just kind of been, okay, well, yeah, 265, whatever. There's more in the tank for we still, as a Dodger fan, I don't feel like we've seen the Kyle Tucker. Like, obviously we didn't see the Edwin Diaz last year. We didn't see the Tanner Scott, right? Still feels like Kyle Tucker's waiting for that Kyle Tucker type streak. But while he's doing it, he's been good. He has not been bad at all. So he's just kind of surviving along and just kind of diving in and getting comfortable. And he's surviving until he can hit that Kyle Tucker streak. And then once he does, you have a great offensive player, right? So that's kind of the way I see Kyle Tucker, just treading water. Treading water is probably too negative of a way to put that. But just kind of surviving along until he hits that streak. And then once he hits that streak, you'll see the numbers that we expected from Kyle Tucker. And then Dalton Rushing, as we said, turning into Dalton Rushing. Understands the role. He's embraced it. Just like you said, hey, he wants to be a starter. We know that, but too bad. You're not. This is what your role is. So your job, Dalton, is to make the best and be the best player inside the role that you're given. And, man, has he done that. And he's just been simply fantastic. Just incredible, hitting over 400, obviously. He's hitting a home run every 4 at-bats. What an amazing player he is. He has the ability, once he gets comfortable, to throw down the ball down to second base in a way that can control running games. This is a great player, and we're starting to see it. This, again, is why you have to have patience with these guys. You can't just say, hey, well, we saw him in an inconsistent role last year and he wasn't good, so he's been kind of a bust. You can't say that. You got to give him enough time and enough space to grow, and we've seen that with Dalton Rushing. And like we said with Ryan Ward, congratulations, slow starter. That's why I tried to warn people in spring training. This was not going to be a good evaluation period for Ryan Ward. He always starts slow. Now, he didn't start slow last year. Last year was perfect from start to finish. But every other year, he's a slow starter. But I'll say this, and I've said this for many years, dating back to 2021, he's been the best hitting prospect in the Dodgers organization, better than Andy Pages in just about every measure for about 5 years running right now. This is not a fly-by-night, hey, Ryan Ward just turned into Jock Peterson overnight, and he's a all-or-nothing, slug-it type of guy. He put in a 2-strike approach last year and went bingo. This is a guy that has always hit. He's had some injuries he's had to deal with, and we're finally starting to see it. And so congratulations, Ryan Ward. And here's, at the very least, I don't think necessarily Ryan Ward, I'm not naive enough to think that Ryan Ward will be a huge part of the Major League roster. Kyle Tucker, especially Freddie Freeman, is going to get back. You've got everything set up. I don't see Andy Pages going into the tank anytime soon, right? Okay, Teo Hernandez is there. So I don't see him being Alex Cole, by the way, is hitting over 400. So I'm not naive enough to think that Ryan Ward's going to be like a huge part of this Major League roster, but I do think at the very least, and this is the way I'm justifying this in my mind. I think if he can come up and have success, like he's got a couple of hits and 6 at-bats, right? Good. If he can continue to do that and play well, that massively raises his trade stock. So if the Dodgers do DFA him, maybe they don't have to. Maybe they can just straight up trade him to another team that will want him. If he can come up and have a good month or so in a good role here, then I think at the very least, I'm not saying this will happen, but at the very least, I think he raises this trade stock to where the Dodgers can get something productive out of him. And maybe replace him with a piece in the farm system that they of a position group that they would like to improve, or maybe even a bullpen piece or whatever it may be. So at the very least, at the very best, obviously he helps the Major League club and he continues to do that. But at the very least, I think if he has a good audition here, he can raise his stock as a trade piece, and that's good for everybody. The Dodgers would get something back that they need for this year's team or in the farm system, and then Ryan Ward obviously would be getting what he deserves as well. So those are my thoughts on the Dodgers overall. I haven't been on in a while. I've gone on for 40 minutes here. The Giants tonight, again, Landon Roop, again, 9-13. Giants have not been a good club to this point, but they do have Landon Roop, who has been just a fantastic pitcher going. It is at Oracle Park. It's going to be electric, and it is a series to where, again, not backs against the wall, but certainly a series to where you would like to win if you're the Giants, because you would like to not bury yourself early in the season in terms of, just getting back almost double digits before it's even June, right? So I think this is a series that the Dodgers are definitely going to get the best version of Landon Roop and the Giants over all. So let's get into some of our down on the farm. And the first guy I want to cover here, let me actually flip this over, and I will read through the comments here in just a minute once I get past this. And let me actually go. No, let me, videos right there. Flip it over. There you go. Okay, you're getting ready to see James Tibbs III, and after a smoking start, you know, he was the PCL Player of the Week and all that. He has greatly slowed down, and this is going to sound really weird. I'm kind of glad. And you're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? You're kind of glad a guy's slowing down. The hype got way too much. It was way too big for James Tibbs III. It was just, he was hot. Guys get hot like this throughout the season all the time. His happened to be at the beginning of the season, kind of like it's accentuated way too much if you get off to a slow start. Same with if you get off to a hot start. So he slowed way down, still off to a very, very good start. 282 for James Tibbs. Now I think with kind of coming back to reality, I think he can settle into just getting rid of the hype and settling into what James Tibbs III can be and is going to be. So I think from here on, we're going to see exactly what James Tibbs III is. But so far, 282 OPS of 1062. And again, hitting just 209 this month. So again, back to reality. Reset for James Tibbs. I think that reset's going to be a good thing for him. It's going to slow things down and let him just kind of settle into the season and be the best version of what he can be. On the flip side of that, hey, this is a guy we've talked about that, hey, I think he's an up-and-out guy. He's a guy that could help the Dodgers. Of course, if Andy Pajas continues to play, there's the two guys we're talking about. Michael Ciani, that's the one out of the cage. That is Jack Sawinski in the cage. So the flip version of James the Tibbs III, Jack Sawinski got off to a very slow start, and here you go. You can see him working. That's Sawinski there out of the cage. You can see him working on all of his direct, just trying to make a direct, see how he's making a direct path to that ball there. Jack Sawinski has hits in 4 games in a row. He's 6 for his last 14 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. So, hey, put Jack Sawinski, great speed. He's always had the power potential. The question is, can he become a great hitter? What he has to become is a great hitter focus, and I would rather him do that than focus on the power. He has done that, and he has gotten hot. 6 for his last 14, and he hasn't lost the power either. He's added 2 home runs to that and 6 RBIs. Put Jack Sawinski on your radar. Let's keep checking back in on Jack Sawinski and seeing how he's doing. And another guy that you definitely need to have on your radar 100% is Noah Miller, no doubt about it. Noah Miller is a shortstop prospect in the Dodgers organization that has always had an elite glove defensively, as you're seeing right here. It's always been about the offense for him, and for Noah Miller, not only has the offense been good, but it has been super consistent. He's hitting .328 this month, .320 overall. So he's just kind of been consistently very good offensively all year. And just kind of to go to that consistency piece for Noah Miller. Noah Miller has hits in 16 of his last 21 games that he's played in, and he has 7 multi-hit games. And then, yes, Zach Earhart did hit an inside the park grand slam the other day, which was super cool. So, hey, Noah Miller, the early results are in, and they are very, very, very good for him offensively. We know the defense can play, so definitely keep checking in on Noah Miller. And to the AA level, we're going to cover Josue De Paula, Kendall George, and Zaire Hope, the 3 outfielders. Josue De Paula is off to a fantastic start. 153 WRC plus, second on the team, the Drillers. That's not the only good play. He made another great play in right field the other night as well. Offensively, he's hitting .333, on-base percentage .446, OPS .909. And what happened, he got off to a really slow start in the first 4 or 5 games, and he had on April 8th and April 9th, he had 2 huge back-to-back games. And then he's gotten 5 hits in the next 8 games with 1 multi-hit game from there. And he's done what he always does. He's gathered base hits, and his walk rate is 2% higher than his strikeout rate. So he's walking more than he's striking out. And his power numbers, his ISO and K percentage are just about even. So just absolutely elite start for not good start for Josue De Paula. An elite start for Josue De Paula. And so that's good to see. He's handling that hype, that AA level. That's a big jump to that level. We'll see how it evens out throughout the entire season. But so far in 2026, the jump to the AA level has been an elite one for Josue De Paula. And you talk about elite results. How about Kendall George at 408, on-base percentage of 508, slugging percentage of 469, OPS, on-base plus slugging, 977. So the slugging percentage at 469, OPS at 977, batting average over 400, 3 doubles on the year, 11 stolen bases. It's not just the stolen bases either for Kendall George. He's only been caught one time trying to steal a base all year. So he's 11 for 12 in stolen bases, and he scored 14 runs in 12 games. So if you score over 170 runs over a 162 game season, which is what that would be, close to 200 runs, you're easily going to lead the league in runs scored. So elite in scoring runs, elite in not just the amount of stolen bases, but also the stolen base percentage, elite batting average, elite on base percentage. K percentage is just 13%, which to me, I would like for him to get below 10%. But hey, with the way things are going, we'll take that. But again, he's walking a lot. So his K percentage at 13%, that's just 3 points lower than his walk percent, so which is 16.9. So kind of like Josue De Paula, Kendall George's K percentages and walk percentages are almost identical. And sit down when you're listening to this. WRC plus is 176 for Kendall George. So how about that? What a tremendous start for Kenny George. The transition to AA has been an elite one for him. And then we're going to talk about Zyhir Hope, who is not off to as good of a start as either Kenny George or Josue De Paula, but has had a couple of really big games lately. And that has propelled him up to a 291 average, OPS of 824, and he has 3 home runs. And the strikeout percentage for Zyhir Hope, strikeout percentage down to 23%. So the strikeout percentage is trending very well for Zyhir Hope. I will take 25% or below with him as long as he's hitting home runs. I will take that every day and twice on Sundays. And just like Kenny George and Josue De Paula, his ISO and K percentages are almost identical, and he has a 116 WRC plus. So great starts for the big 3 outfielders at AA Tulsa. Wanted to show you that, and that's our Down the Farm segment there. So I want to jump into some of the comments here. We have a wonderful crowd. Ela Shiva, Noah Miller is elite at shortstop. Mike Lopez said, would Michael Kopech come back this year? What are your thoughts on bringing up Chris Campos? I would wait on Campos. He's not on the 40-man. I don't know what the corresponding move would be. Let him face those AAA hitters, which many of them are former major leaguers. Let him get comfortable with that. Bring him up later. I don't think the Dodgers would want Kopech back. I think there was just too much volatility there. They couldn't really fix him. I don't see that being something the Dodgers would pursue. Yes, very happy for Wardo. No doubt about it. Ela Shiva. And we addressed the Roki Sasaki to the bullpen. Hey, I would love to hear Casey's beef with ex-Vols coach, now San Francisco manager Tony Vitello. Got to be a college SEC issue. Yeah, Tony. His teams at Tennessee acted like complete horses' asses. I mean, you talk about as Bush League as you could get. That was Tennessee. And you got to keep in mind his pitching coach was Frank Anderson, who was the head coach at Oklahoma State University. I know Frank Anderson personally. His son, Brett Anderson, went to Stillwater High School just like I did. His son, Brett Anderson, pitched in the major leagues. I worked camps for Frank Anderson. I did radio broadcasts for OSU baseball while Frank Anderson was the coach there. They ran satellite camps at our facility here in Guthrie. So I have many dealings with Frank Anderson, who was Tony Vitello's pitching coach. So I have every reason to want to like Tony Vitello and his program at Tennessee. Can't do it. They just were way too Bush League in terms of the way that they acted. So let me do this. And let me throw this in here in case anybody. I need to start a new one. Let me read some more comments. I know Chuck's not in the lobby right now. He had to run some errands. That's the link. Come join the show. My microphone keeps moving on me. Come join the show. We got a couple minutes here. I will read a couple of more comments, and then we will get out of here. But if you want to come join the show, audio only, click that link, and let's get after it. Hey, Showtime LA, what's going on this morning? Pretty surprised. All the Zaire Hope's home runs are to the opposite field. Shakti hasn't pulled one. Yeah, especially if you watch any kind of baseball at One Oak, that right field is a short porch, and it's a short fence. It's like 4 foot tall. So the poolside home runs for a lefty are definitely there at One Oak. So we'll see if he can tap into some of that poolside power. But I think a lot of that Showtime is that he just got off to a slow start, period. He's had a couple of big games early on. And his first hit, if you remember last year in Double-A, his first hit in Double-A was the left center. So I think that's a good thing that you're seeing the opposite field power while he is, because I don't think he's in a Zaire Hope groove yet. And so I think once he gets in that groove, you'll start seeing that poolside power, and we'll go from there. So, hey, we have a guest wanting to come in right here. Let me bring them in. Hey, Ela Shiva Jones. How is it going, Ela Shiva? How are you today? Thank you so much for joining the show. Can you hear me?
Hi. Wow, I've never called in before. This is really cool. First, Casey, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I just want to say I'm a huge fan of your show, obviously. I've been watching your show for several years. Fantastic content.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm kind of concerned about the bullpen, and we've got a lot of injuries and then guys recovering from various different procedures.
Yes.
When do we think Evan Phillips might help us this season? Gratterall, there's, a bunch of guys, given all that, is there a chance we might give some of these guys in the 40-man a chance, like Ronan Kopp and some other guys? We got some arms that look like they have potential.
100%. And Campos got brought up a minute ago. I think you just nailed on the first guy. I think that, of course, Ronan Kopp got put on the 40-man roster in the offseason to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. I've said many different times, I think it's about a 99% chance, as long as he pitches well, that Ronan Kopp will come up with the club, and he will have his major league debut. I think another guy that you might see that could be a swing guy, I think this all depends on Roki Sasaki. One of the solutions could be move Roki Sasaki to the bullpen, bring River Ryan up as a starter, right? But I think River Ryan is a guy, you just saw Kyle Hurt get brought up. And then I'll tell you another guy that Dodgers fans aren't mentioning at all, but who has been literally the best pitcher for the Oklahoma City Comets and has major league experience. And like Hesson Kim, he's unique because he's a side armor. Watch out for Wyatt Mills. I think Wyatt Mills is a guy that he's that typical quad A guy. He's off to a good start. He brings some uniqueness. He's a guy that could get brought up. You've already seen Kyle Hurt. So, yes, I think that especially if the Dodgers can continue to play good offense, stay in first place where they feel like they have a cushion, where they can experiment a little bit, I think that's definitely an option. And Oklahoma City has a very, very good mix of guys like River Ryan and Ronan Kopp, the young guys, versus the Wyatt Mills, the Jake Eaters, those kind of guys that are your quad A guys.
So a question regarding these guys that we've been waiting to recover, like Gratterall and Evan Phillips. Do you think we'll see them this season sometime? I'm
not convinced. I think you might see Gratterall. I'm not convinced to the extent. I do think you'll see Evan Phillips. And I think Evan Phillips, and then Brock Stewart's another guy that you could see too. I do think you'll see Evan Phillips. I think you'll see him later on in the season. I think once you see him, I think he'll stick. I think you're in that position as long as he doesn't get hurt again. At least that's the info I've been getting.
One more question about pitching. Do you suspect the Dodgers will continue the whole season with a 6-man rotation, 5-man? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that comes down to the health of Blake Snell, and I think that comes down to how Roki Sasaki does, right? So, I mean, if you move, a lot of this determines on your 6th starter. So, if you have Roki Sasaki in your rotation, so here's what I've been saying. If Roki Sasaki is your 6th starter, you can handle from an innings perspective from your bullpen if he only goes 4 or 5 innings because you have one extra starter per rotation than anybody else does. But if you move Roki Sasaki to the pen, now what do? Do you make it a 5-man rotation? Do you bring up River Ryan? What do you do with that? There's a lot of questions there. I don't see any scenario, though, where the Dodgers don't either A, have just a full-blown six-man rotation, or B, do like they've done basically the last 10 years of their existence. And even if it's not labeled a six-man rotation via the 60-day ILs or the IL stints or the off days, use that as a quasi six-man rotation, because they've done that basically for the last 10 years anyway. So I think however you want to name it, I think it's definitely six-man rotation.
Can I just ask a question about your thoughts on the ABS? So it seems like in a recent game where the Dodgers lost to the Rockies, they left their challenges on the table because perhaps it was said like, hey, guys at the bottom of the lineup, like, new guys that they just brought up, you guys don't get to challenge, right? Yeah. It seems like I don't know if the Dodgers have fully figured out their strategy with respect to ABS.
I think a lot of that is you lost Will Smith. You've not lost Will Smith, but Will Smith is one of the best in challenging. So I think my point is you want to leave those challenges up to Will Smith, because I think the out in terms of your pitching, the offense has been elite. So I don't think the Dodgers want to waste their challenges necessarily with their offense, because I think they can cover a bad call offensively better than they can, especially later in games whenever your bullpen's out there, because the bullpen hasn't been great. I think the Dodgers feel like the challenges are much better used when the bullpen is out there, and then certainly when Will Smith is the catcher, because Will Smith, and it's no surprise because Will Smith has had the best plate discipline basically of any hitter in baseball for a long time. So it's no surprise that he's good at the challenge system. I think they deem it a more valuable challenge if it's used on the pitching side, specifically with the bullpen and specifically with Will Smith catching.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me be on the air, and go Dodgers.
Hey, Ela Shiva, please check back in every time I put that link in there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. What a wonderful job, Ela. What an incredible questions, incredible Dodgers fan, incredible Dodgers Dogs fan, incredible Dodgers Daily fan. Ela Shiva, you are a rock star. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. So, hey, unless somebody wants to, you've got about 5 seconds to log in. If you don't, I'm going to go ahead and end this show. We've been going right at about an hour. It feels so good to be back again. Had family issues I had to deal with last week. And again, I probably should have made an announcement, but hey, I drop everything. You take care of family. That's the way I do things. So absolutely great questions. No doubt about it, Tony. Ela Shiva is a 100% rock star. So, hey, thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in again. If you want to log in, you got about 15 to 20 seconds left here. Wonderful to be back with all you wonderful Dodgers dogs. We had a great crowd today. This has been a lot of fun. Again, just mark it on your calendar, 9 a.m. Pacific every weekday except for Monday. Monday is Austin's, whenever he has time, is his solo day. So make sure and put that on your calendar, and let's get after it and have a really fun rest of the year. So, hey, until next time, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and as always, remind you, it's a great day to be a Dodger.